Have you ever stopped to wonder if the friendships you hold on to in your later years could actually be harming you instead of helping you? At first, that sounds impossible. After all, aren't friends supposed to bring comfort, joy, and support into our lives? But as the great thinker Carl Jung once reminded us, the relationships we carry through life can sometimes turn into hidden traps, especially in old age, without us even realizing it. By the time you reach your 70s or 80s, the friendships you've had for decades may no longer serve the same purpose they once did. In fact, some of them can quietly become sources of stress, fear, or limitation rather than encouragement and growth. In today's video, we're going to look at 7 reasons why friendships in old age can sometimes become more of a trap than a blessing. These are the kinds of patterns Carl Jung himself might have warned us about if he were alive today. You'll discover how emotional dependence, jealousy, or even old unresolved wounds can slowly drain your energy and even rob you of your independence. More importantly, we'll explore how you can recognize these traps in your own life and what steps you can take to protect your dignity, your peace of mind, and even your health. Make sure you stay with me until the very end, because the final reason is the one that surprises most people. It affects not just your emotional balance, but also your physical health in ways you may never have expected. So let's begin. Reason number 1, emotional dependence. One of the most common traps in old age is when a friendship quietly turns into emotional dependency. At first, it feels comforting. You know someone is there to check on you daily, and you can pick up the phone anytime you feel lonely. But over time, the relationship can become unbalanced. One person leans so heavily on the other that instead of bringing joy, it starts to drain energy. Take the example of Helen, an 82-year-old widow who spent her afternoons chatting happily with her old friend Clara. In the beginning, it was uplifting, 2 widows sharing stories, laughter, and companionship. But slowly things shifted. Clara began calling Helen every single evening, expecting hours of listening to her complaints. What was once joyful soon became exhausting. Helen began to dread the sound of the phone ringing. That friendship, instead of lifting her up, began to weigh her down. This happens because emotional dependence creates an uneven exchange, where one person's needs dominate the relationship. And in later life, that imbalance can be dangerous. Studies in psychology show that unbalanced social ties are linked to higher levels of stress, poor sleep, elevated blood pressure, and even a weaker immune system. For older adults, that's a serious risk. So here's the question you need to ask yourself: after spending time with a friend, do you feel uplifted, or do you feel drained? That one question can reveal whether your friendship is truly supportive or if it has slipped into dependency. If you find yourself constantly exhausted, it may be time to gently set boundaries. Practical steps can help. Limit the length of calls, or decide you'll only chat on certain days instead of every day. Redirect conversations toward positive, shared memories instead of endless negativity. And most importantly, expand your circle so that no single friend carries the entire weight of your emotional world. This isn't about abandoning someone, it's about protecting your own health while keeping the relationship balanced. Carl Jung emphasized the importance of becoming your true self, especially in later years. That means not letting someone else's constant needs overshadow your own peace of mind. Remember this: emotional dependence may look like friendship, but in reality, it can chain you down just as much as loneliness can. True friendship should give you wings, not weigh you down. Reason number 2, financial entanglements. Another trap that often creeps into friendships in old age is money. At first, it may seem harmless. A friend forgets their wallet at lunch and you cover the bill. Or maybe they ask for a small loan just to get through the month. But over time. Reason number 2, financial entanglements. One of the easiest ways friendships can turn into traps in old age is when money gets involved. At first, it looks harmless. You pick up the tab at lunch because your friend forgot their wallet. You lend a little cash, just this once, to help them cover a bill. But little favors, when repeated, can quietly grow into expectations. Before you even realize it, the friendship has shifted. What was once built on trust and laughter becomes weighed down by a sense of financial burden. Take Robert, age 78, for example. For decades, he and his friend Jim enjoyed simple joys, fishing trips, coffee chats, sharing stories about their families. But then Jim began dropping hints about his financial troubles. Robert, being generous, offered help here and there. One time became many times. Years later, Robert noticed something painful. Jim no longer looked at him as a true companion. Instead, he saw him as a safety net. What used to be a bond of friendship had turned into a one-sided arrangement of obligation and guilt. The psychology behind this is clear. When money and personal relationships mix, boundaries blur. The giver begins to feel resentment, while the receiver starts to feel entitled. For older adults living on fixed incomes, even small amounts of financial pressure can spark anxiety. Stress hormones rise, sleep gets disturbed, and the security of retirement begins to erode. So, pause and ask yourself, do you ever feel uneasy when a friend brings up money? Do you sometimes hesitate to answer the phone, worried it might lead to yet another request for help? These are warning signs that financial dependence is distorting the friendship. Here are 3 safeguards to protect yourself. First, make it a rule, keep money and friendship separate. If you do give, only share what you're fully prepared to never see again. Second, be open about your own limits. There's no shame in saying, I need to manage my retirement carefully. Third, if a friend insists on discussing money, gently redirect them toward resources that can truly help, like community programs, financial counselors, or social services. Carl Jung reminded us that real connection requires integrity. A friendship tangled in money is not a friendship at all, it's a transaction dressed up as loyalty. And in old age, when dignity and independence are more valuable than ever, that kind of trap can rob you of both. If you're still here watching and finding value in this discussion, let me know by commenting the number 2 below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and turn on the notification bell. That way, you'll never miss future videos where we share wisdom to help you live with more peace and confidence. Reason number 3, emotional overdependence. Another trap that sneaks into later life friendships is emotional overdependence. At the start, it seems harmless. A friend calls often to share their loneliness, grief, or fears. You want to be kind. After all, empathy is the soul of friendship. But slowly, the balance tips. Instead of mutual support, the friendship begins to feel more like therapy. Instead of companionship, it turns into counseling. Take Margaret, 82, who found herself in this exact situation. Her longtime friend Alice leaned on her constantly, calling every day for hours. The conversations were always heavy, complaints, worries, endless need for reassurance. Margaret realized something important. After each call, she didn't feel uplifted. She felt drained. What once gave her comfort was now robbing her of peace and energy. Psychologically, this imbalance is harmful. Human beings thrive on mutual exchange. When one person only gives while the other only takes, resentment builds, and personal growth stalls. Jung called this the failure of individuation, the inability to live as a whole self because someone else's needs dominate your space. This isn't friendship anymore. It's entrapment. So ask yourself, do you feel anxious when the phone rings, knowing it will lead to another long and heavy talk? Do you hold back from sharing your own struggles because you don't want to add to your friend's load? These are red flags that the relationship has slipped into dependency. The good news is, there are healthy ways to handle this. First, set clear limits, decide how often and how long you're willing to talk. Second, gently guide conversations toward positive, shared topics instead of constant problems. And third, remember to honor your own needs. True friendship is a two-way street. If it feels like a one-way burden, it's time to reset the balance. Reason number 4, old wounds resurfacing. Friendships in later life sometimes awaken conflicts or rivalries that were never fully healed. What seemed like a small disagreement in younger years, a forgotten birthday, a harsh word, or even a clash over family matters, can unexpectedly rise again when both people are older, more fragile, and less patient. Take Thomas, 84, as an example. He had a longtime friend from church, a man he once cherished for companionship and faith. But over the years, this friend developed a habit of reminding Thomas about mistakes he had made decades ago. Every gathering became a subtle reminder of past failures. Instead of joy, Thomas began to feel dread in the presence of someone who once brought him comfort. Carl Jung often taught that unresolved wounds from our personal history never truly disappear unless we face them. In old age, those unhealed pieces of the past can show up inside our closest relationships, trapping us in cycles of regret, shame, or defensiveness. Instead of offering peace, the friendship becomes a mirror reflecting back pain we'd rather leave behind. This is especially dangerous in later years because our emotional resilience is thinner. What we could laugh off at 40 can feel painfully heavy at 80. A friend who constantly reminds you of old mistakes, whether in jest or judgment, can slowly chip away at your self-esteem and rob you of joy in your final chapters. So ask yourself, do I leave this person's company feeling judged or diminished? Do they focus more on who I used to be instead of celebrating who I am now? If so, that friendship has slipped into a trap. The only way forward is with clarity. Draw a firm line. Let your friend know, kindly but firmly, that you no longer wish to revisit old conflicts. Say, I want to focus on the present and the good things we still share. If they persist, it may be time to step back. Instead, invest in relationships that see your wisdom, your growth, and the dignity of who you are today. Healthy friendships in old age should not drag you back into past battles, they should lift you into peace, respect, and purpose. Jung's warning was clear, the unexamined past will control the present. By refusing to let old wounds dominate your friendships, you reclaim the freedom to age with strength and grace. If you're still watching and finding these insights meaningful, please comment the number 4 below so I know you're here. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell so you won't miss future videos where we share wisdom to guide you into a happier, more peaceful later life. Reason number 5, dependency without balance. Another trap that friendships can fall into during old age is unhealthy dependency. At first, leaning on one another feels natural, sharing rides to the grocery store, offering company at the doctor's office, or helping each other with small errands. But slowly, the balance can tilt. One person becomes the caretaker, while the other slips fully into dependence. Evelyn, 82, experienced this with her neighbor George. After his hip surgery, she gladly helped him with groceries and errands. But soon, George came to rely on her for everything, managing bills, endless phone calls, even emotional reassurance for the smallest worries. What started as kindness turned into an invisible chain. Instead of feeling like a friend, Evelyn felt trapped, carrying a weight that drained her freedom and joy. Carl Jung often spoke about the need for balance in human relationships. Without balance, dependency becomes suffocating. The giver begins to feel overwhelmed, while the receiver may lose the confidence to stand on their own. Over time, this imbalance erodes trust and turns a friendship into something closer to an obligation. Ask yourself, do I feel more like a caregiver than a companion in this friendship? Do I sense that my needs are being ignored while I constantly meet theirs? If so, it may be time to reset the boundaries. Practical steps can help. First, encourage independence by helping your friend find resources, whether that's community services, other family members, or support groups, so the weight doesn't fall entirely on you. Second, communicate honestly. Let them know you care deeply, but also that your own energy and health matter. And third, protect your own time. If you never leave space for rest, joy, or your own growth, you risk becoming resentful. A true friendship in old age should feel like a partnership, not a burden. Both should give and both should receive. Anything less steals your dignity, your peace, and your ability to live fully in the years you have left. Reason number 6, fear of authenticity. A hidden trap of friendships in old age is when they stop being places of truth and instead become stage plays. Many seniors hold on to long-standing friends but keep conversations only on the surface, safe topics like the weather, aches and pains, or grandchildren, while avoiding deeper honesty. At first, it feels easier. But over time, this creates a false harmony. You smile, you nod, but deep inside, you feel unseen and unheard. Take Patricia, 79. She regularly met her circle of friends for coffee. But when her husband passed away, she longed for comfort, for someone to simply let her grieve openly. To her surprise, her friends quickly steered the conversation back to lighter topics. They didn't want to face her pain. Patricia left those gatherings feeling silenced, as if she had to wear a mask just to remain accepted. Carl Jung believed that the purpose of aging is individuation, the courage to embrace all parts of ourselves, both light and shadow. But shallow or judgmental friendships block that process. When you cannot share your true fears, regrets, or hopes, you live only half a life. Worse, you may begin to doubt your worth, telling yourself, "My friends wouldn't understand." That kind of false belonging becomes a cage, leaving you lonelier than if you were alone. This risk grows sharper after 70. Time feels shorter, and the longing for authentic connection grows stronger. Pretending may avoid conflict, but it starves the soul. Jung also warned that what we repress in later years doesn't disappear, it seeps out as bitterness, anxiety, or even physical illness. So ask yourself, do my friends allow me to be real? Can I speak honestly without fear of being judged or dismissed? If the answer is no, then your friendships may be trapping you in false harmony instead of nurturing authenticity. The solution is not to cut everyone off, but to seek or nurture relationships where truth is welcome. You can begin by modeling honesty yourself, share something real and watch who responds with care instead of discomfort. Even one genuine friendship where masks are dropped and hearts are open can nourish you more than a dozen shallow ones. At this stage of life, honesty is not a luxury. It is survival for the spirit. If you're still watching and finding these insights valuable, please comment the number 6 below to let me know you're here. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell so you won't miss future videos designed to support your journey with wisdom and peace. Reason number 7, loss of growth and renewal. Friendships are meant to help us grow, but in old age, some friendships can actually hold us back. Instead of encouraging new experiences, they keep us stuck in old routines, old stories, and old identities. What once felt familiar can quietly become a cage. Reason number 7, loss of growth and renewal. The final trap of friendships in old age is subtle, but perhaps the most dangerous, when they stop you from growing. A friendship that once brought comfort and joy can, over the years, become stagnant. The same conversations, the same routines, even the same complaints keep repeating with no spark of renewal. Take George, age 82. Every Thursday, he faithfully met his old buddies at the diner. At first, it was comforting, familiar faces, familiar stories. But over time, he noticed their talk circled endlessly around illnesses, politics, and regrets. Instead of leaving refreshed, he left feeling heavier, drained of hope. Yet, out of habit and loyalty, he kept going. Carl Jung warned that aging without renewal leaves the soul restless and unfulfilled. Friendships can become traps when they lock you into the past, denying you the chance to explore new ideas, hobbies, or even new companions who reflect who you are today, not who you were 40 years ago. This isn't about abandoning old friends. It's about recognizing when a relationship no longer inspires growth. At 80, you don't just need company, you need people who encourage you to keep learning, to laugh at new stories, and to find meaning in this stage of life. The danger is confusing routine with connection. Comfort alone is not enough. Left unchecked, it can slowly dull your mind and spirit. Research on longevity shows that seniors who stay engaged in stimulating social activities, whether joining new groups, trying out hobbies, or even forming intergenerational friendships, experience lower rates of cognitive decline and greater life satisfaction. By contrast, those who confine themselves to stagnant ties often face quicker emotional and physical decline. So ask yourself honestly, do my friendships spark renewal, or do they tie me down to repetition? Do they encourage me to keep growing, or do they make me feel like life is already finished? Your answer will reveal whether your relationships are giving you freedom, or keeping you in a trap. The good news is, it's never too late. You can honor the past while opening your heart to new friendships that bring fresh meaning. Aging should not mean shrinking. It should mean expanding, into wisdom, depth, and authentic joy. And that is only possible when you surround yourself with people who let you grow, not hold you back. Final thoughts. As we've explored together, friendships in old age can be both a blessing and a trap. Carl Jung's wisdom reminds us that relationships should help us grow into wholeness, not chain us to fear, dependency, or stagnation. We've looked at 7 traps that can quietly weigh you down: emotional dependence, financial entanglements, one-sided caretaking, old wounds resurfacing, unhealthy dependency, fear of authenticity, and the loss of growth and renewal. Each of these, if left unchecked, can steal your peace, weaken your health, and blur your sense of purpose. But here's the hope: awareness creates freedom. Once you recognize the patterns that drain you, you can choose differently. Old age is not about clinging to every relationship simply because of history. It is about surrounding yourself with people who honor your dignity, respect your truth, and encourage your continued growth. Remember this: one authentic, life-giving friendship is worth far more than a dozen shallow or toxic ones. The friendships you nurture after 70 or 80 should reflect who you are now, not just who you once were. Choose companions who let you breathe deeply, speak honestly, and find joy in each new day. That is how your later years become not a season of entrapment, but a season of freedom, wisdom, and peace. Thank you for joining us today. I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned and how you plan to apply it in your life. Your reflections inspire us and keep this community growing. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share it with others. Your support helps us continue creating meaningful content to inform and inspire. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.